Mr. James Scarlett, we go again.
Yes, we do, mate. How are you doing?
I am as good as I've ever been, mate. It's Saturday. I have got myself a couple of drinks. I haven't, after absolutely bashing it at trees right into all inclusive at Mexico, and then knowing that Arctangent was rising, I gave myself a couple of weeks. I said, look, dry up, get back into training. And aye, dry out before you need to admit you've got a problem here, Gav. So I've not touched a drop other than a couple of glasses of champagne for my wife's birthday. I haven't touched a drop in August. So we deliberately made this the Saturday so I could have a couple of drinks with you, because I know you'll be having a couple of drinks down the field. So fucking loving life. I am loving life. Yourself?
Amazing. Yeah, well, fuck, I said amazing, didn't I? I'm really trying hard not to say that.
Oh,
Um,
you're gonna hate listening back to the Bosque episode then.
oh, is there a lot? Oh, God.
But that's because honestly, when you add the third person in, the chemistry becomes more. It's more nerve-wracking because you're
Yeah.
trying not to cut into each other when you're talking, and you're trying to make sure that you get it. So then whatever nervous tick you've got that makes you say hey, amazing, hey, that kind of came back in full
It's
floor.
me saying, oh, I like what you just said. That is interesting. But I've only got one word. I can't have there's no like wide vocabulary. But yeah, no, I'm really good. So it's the Saturday before Arctangent starts. So we will be starting on Wednesday, so we're nearly there. We just spent it's about 5:10 now. We're recording this, so we've just spent all day putting up fencing. We've had a really good day, really good team. We've smashed loads of it out. It's the weather's been lovely, perfect fencing weather. It's like sunny but not mega hot. So yeah, the Arctangent build is going great. And like I said, when we did the previous episode, we're all quite relaxed. So it's nice. Yeah. Everyone's just yeah,
Yeah.
it feels good. I don't know if we're all gonna suddenly lose our shit in the next 4 days, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, you'd said in the previous episode, all the tents are up. You go there, you'd recognise what site it is, but when you put that fencing up, they'd feel like, oh shit, this is actually now at tangent.
Yeah. Yeah. It really like makes it a festival. So yeah, I've got no stresses. We had a last minute Meshuggah stress that they've made us completely change our lighting rig that we've been planning for 6 months with a week to go. And our lighting guy was not impressed with it at all. Um, in fact, the first time he told me about it, he was like, "We definitely can't do it." And then we spoke to Meshuggah, and it was like, "Well, we definitely need to do it." When you got a headliner and they're not asking you, they're telling you.
They're telling you.
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant. 4 days out. Some production managers' life's just been made hell.
The
But
mad,
that's
the mad thing is, he said I'm stood with him in the main stage, looking at the lighting rig, which is already half built, and he's saying to me, "Look at it. We're working on it now. It's too late to change it." It's like, well, it is a bit mad to be changing shit when we're in the field, but
fair
change it,
enough.
we are.
But I hope it's does it sound like it's gonna be impressive though?
Yeah, it'll be great. I mean, obviously, bands like them know how to make things look good because they've been doing it so long. So yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be great.
Meshuggah's an odd one for me because it's one of those bands I can appreciate, but I mean, I would never listen to a Meshuggah album, but when a Meshuggah tune comes on, I can appreciate it. Live. Aye, I've seen them plenty, but they're just aye, they're one of those ones that you pick. Meshuggah are definitely a I'm all in or largely indifferent. I mean, they're one of
Yeah,
those bands, aren't they? Where are you? Are you a big Meshuggah fan, or what is this? If a promotes that on, you book them because they're popular.
yeah. I mean, do you remember recently there was someone commented because I'd said I don't listen to Don Broco, and they said
I think we're
on
getting.
our Facebook page, how can you book Don Broco and you don't listen to them?
Oh,
And
I thought it was a question about that. Is there the question about Don Brokoff? So I wonder if that's what the question is today, but it's not. Sorry, continue.
but yeah, so uh, just to explain, I've actually been meaning to bring this up because I do want to explain that it's not that I've never heard them; it's that I don't listen to them, and it isn't my sort of music. And the reason I don't know their songs is because I've listened to each song a couple of times, not millions of times. Um, and I don't listen to the radio because I fucking hate the radio. So it's not like I know their hits. So with Meshuggah, I am not a big Meshuggah fan. I think they're an amazing band, but it's a bit like being strapped to a brick and chucked in a washing machine, isn't it? It's like you're just fucking like when you watch them live, it is like really mind-blowingly, like almost painful at times. Like you're just like trying to work out what the fuck's going on. And I thought they were brilliant the last time they played Arctangent. But they're a band on records that I will always buy. I always buy their new records, listen to them, and then just move on. They're not a band that I'm like
Yeah.
invested in really.
You're I think now 6, 7 hours into that on the record place, you are a groovy, proggy, experimental kind of guy. But anything with the Mars Volta through to Toad Liquor and everything in between, you like your songs 18 minutes long and going in all sorts of directions.
Yeah, and I'm not a massive fan of like I'm not a massive hardcore fan. I'm not a massive punk fan, and not a massive thrash fan. So I don't really listen to that much music that's fast. Most of the music I listen to is probably quite slow. Um, so yeah, I mean, look, Meshuggah are a great band, but I don't sit at home
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
listening.
listen, I don't know. This is a bit of the promoter's curse. I mean, I remember afterwards when we came off, we had that chat with Cam Hack, and I was having an honest conversation about Machine Head, and it was like, "Oh, so what Machine Head album don't you like?" And he's sitting there like, "Mate, I'm Machine Head's promoter for the UK. Like, I will say zero that isn't positive about me. My job is literally to tell you how great Machine Head are at every opportunity." And you're a bit like, aye, fair play, but I mean, I hope if you're listening to enough of these that you're like, you can respect a band and appreciate what they bring and be very excited about booking them. And I have done that, and we have done that at Damnation for hundreds of bands without necessarily thinking, aye, that's the kind of music I like. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
you get that with that Don Broco one. That's like, how could you possibly book a headliner you'd never listen to?
I
And
mean,
so,
there's no way you're sitting at home listening to Cradle of Filth, is there? Let's be honest.
no, no. I will enjoy Cradle of Filth there, but that is not a band that I have the discography of. And you come into the house and I've got Her Ghost in the Fog blasting in the background. And likewise, you can put that across almost all black metal. It's not, I don't know, fucking Vigdud. So I it's you need to appreciate when you're listening, especially if we're going to have sit and have these conversations. We don't love everything we book, and a lot of that's a mark of respect to those bands. I mean, you're booking bands that you don't necessarily listen to, or sometimes Damnation don't even like, but you know what they mean to your fan base, and that's why
Yeah,
they're there.
yeah, absolutely. And I think when we did the 2000 Trees review, Don Broco were the second or third bands that I gave a shout out to how brilliant they were. But doesn't mean you've got to listen to all these bands. When we were doing our fencing today, we were listening to we had the music blasting out. We listened to Unpeople and Blood Command, because they're like upbeat, get your fencing kind of things. So,
Yeah.
I'm always listening to bands we book, but yeah,
Yeah, listen, one of my favourite bands are Radiohead. I will never have that band on in the gym. I only listen to in the gym electronic dance music because it's the only thing I like, that mindless beat. I don't want to be thinking about lyrics or songs or when I'm in the
yeah,
gym and I've got God knows how many kilo above my head. I just want to be some mindless dance beat that just keeps you motivated. So aye, different. I don't know how we've got off in this course. This is maybe setting the table for how this Q&A 5 is going to go.
fucking hell.
Couple of drinks. Let's go and argue about some bands and insult people. So let's get the good, positive things about this podcast out out there up front and centre, because I am falling in love with this podcast. I mean, it's just fucking great. It's great to be involved in. It's great that and listen, chatting to you is great. Good laugh, fine. But I could do that on the phone, you know what I mean? We could have these conversations and we wouldn't need to edit out the band names, you know, we could just have these conversations anyway. But the listenership and the folk that are getting involved in this, it's just growing arms and legs. And now they're getting involved. People are making special t-shirts with sayings on them. We've got some crackpots went away and made Loose Bruce the URL, which we'll talk about in a minute. It's so much fun. And even before we started we hit recording this, I just read a post for some Norwegian guy who has been listening to the pod since the start, which I've got questions about that right off the bat. But he's like, I've been listening religiously, and you keep mentioning the Lou's Brews hot sauces, and I've been craving them. The sponsorship's working. Each one goes. I'm like, I'm going to find a way to get these Lou's Brews. Then you had Tom Begley on, and I put the dots together that I have an atom smasher in my fridge and have had for 2 years. So he said, I've got this excitement that, shit, that's Tom Begley. That's the guy that I bought the sauce from? That sauce must be Lou's Brews. Lou's Brews is the podcast sponsor. So he goes to his fridge and he gets a bottle, but then realizes he doesn't want to open it. I think he described it as like a rare, expensive action figure. So he's sitting here, this guy in Norway, looking at his Boss hot sauce by Lou's Brews, and now doesn't want to open it. And you're like, how can that not cheer you up? Like when we started this, there was no thinking about this. Some guy in Norway staring at hot sauce, thinking this is worth its weight in gold.
Pretty mind blowing where it's gone, hasn't it? My mum sent me a photo yesterday of or a couple of days ago of she's our top fan or something.
Right?
Like Facebook has told her, it's given her a list of like who are the top fans,
Yep.
and she's number one. But Neil, who does our water here, is number two. So he's with me this week. I've been like taking the piss out because he's on number two. He's on
Behind
number two fan, most engaged person on Facebook.
I mean, he always shares. And don't get me wrong, I had my worries when you were starting shouting out quotes for water prices, and I was like, maybe we're going to lose one of our top fans on that episode. But not, Neil was still behind us. He's like, nah, let's go, let's get this out there.
He
So
keeps quoting that episode we did on the costs because I said his price was punchy apparently. So yeah,
need
he's
to
fine.
be careful what we're saying in here. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's one part of the good, or the snowball effect of the good news, which has gone with the podcast a minute. We had someone, well, we've had plenty of people since it started saying, oh, why don't you put stuff in Patreon? Why don't you monetize YouTube? Why don't you do adverts left, right, all the other ways? And it all comes from a good place. They're basically like, you're putting out this podcast and you're not getting paid for it when other podcasts are. And we've been a bit like, well, we always answered that the same way, that if you buy the tickets for the festival, then we'll get our income through another source. But it was a Fran Swain who came up with the idea, why don't you use this site? It's ko-fi. I think it's supposed to be coffee, or some plain word for coffee. That you can. It's a tip based, a donation tip based thing. So set that up. So I done it last night, and with the only promise being whatever money comes in, we split it three ways: me, you, and Bry, and we do not spend it in Bone. We do not buy the week shopping with it. We do not put fuel in the cars. You go and get something stupid like, I don't know, a coloured variant of the blackening signed by Rob Fallon. And within, I think, about 150 quid or something came in last night. So, James, the first question, what are you doing with your 50 quid?
Well, mate, I saw you fucking rinsing me on Facebook saying I needed to get some new clothes, which is definitely not what I'll be spending it on, unless it's an identical black denim shirt to the ones I already own. I mean, if it's got to be fun, I don't know. But if it's just I can spend it on whatever I want, I always just buy records. All I ever buy is records.
Funny enough, because I was like, okay, well, if there's 150 quid, less of fees, which we'll get into in a minute, that Stripe robbing bastards try to take our hard-earned money. I went on Evil Greed last night to try and find you a cap. Like they've got chat pile caps and like different caps that you love. But fuck me, they're expensive. Like 34 quid plus delivery. I thought like a cap was, I don't know, 20 quid. So aye, I'll maybe let you pick your cap for the 50
I'll buy a
quid you
cap.
get.
Yeah, I
Aye.
always take a new cap.
And Bry unsurprisingly, is he'll no show any his face in this, but he is the geek of the podcast. He'll get we'll buy him like a Chewbacca Lego set or something that can play. But listen, I only set it up because people were asking, and it's hugely appreciated. I know nothing about this site before last night. It turns out you can set up a monthly payment, which 3 subscribers have already done, and I want to shout out those subscribers. It was Robert, D, and Chris. Now, that made sense to me, and it was like, you can donate, it's 4 quid a month, so if you go like, okay, I'm going to pay £1 a podcast, and you put your 4 quid, that's fucking amazing. And I was thinking about it, maybe we could, if that's coming in, then we can do more for Bry, because it's all right for you sell out Damnation and I'm going to be loaded. You sell out James's festival, he's going to be loaded. Bry doesn't have a festival, and he's probably putting in the most amount of work for this podcast. So, by all means, it's a lot of fun. I'll give you something to laugh and joke about, and hopefully we will show you some of the crazy shit we buy. But if that's something you're willing to do, then please do. Finally, on all things worth a laugh, some madman by the name of Dan Morgan, I believe, has bought, or he appears to have bought the URL for loosebruce.co.uk. So if you can't get my accent, which beyond that, by this point, come on, well, 32 episodes in, you should have given up by now, and you type in loosebruce.co.uk, you will arrive at loosebruce.co.uk and still be able to buy your hot sauce. Lou seems absolutely tickled pink by this fucking move and is sharing it everywhere possible. So, aye, nice move, Dan. Nice move. Did you see this, James? Did
That's
you see it?
incredible. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I'm so busy at the moment. All of the stuff you're talking about, I'm finding out at like midnight when I'm just about to go to sleep and I'm having a flick through doom scrolling, I think they call it. And I mean, even you doing the fucking coffee thing, it's not like Gav, just to give the listeners some insight, Gav never said to me, this is what we're going to do. I found out on Facebook that this is what we were doing. So thanks, everyone. It's nice. It's nice to, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
nice,
I
nice
mean,
that people are interested in contributing.
to be fair, that is what it's like to work with me. You probably will find out a lot of stuff afterwards, co-host or not. And secondly, it's about like big man's in a fucking field putting out fencing. Does he really need a conversation about whether we're going to set this up or no? I'm in a when I'm not drinking, I tend to be 4 times as productive and end up just getting caught up in a lot of stuff that was sitting in the back of my to-do list. So I battered through it and I thought, when James finds out, he will find it funny, I'm sure. And if he ends up with a new baseball cap with it, then he'll be happy.
Absolutely, I'm happy. Well, if you're in a productive, I'm waiting for you to do our TikTok.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay.
If you're
Okay.
in a productive period, I think TikTok's the.
Right, TikTok, is it about you want to be more popular? Is this not enough for you, mate?
Well, I just think we got the little, Instagram reels.
Yep.
I'm not asking you to uh, work out how the fuck TikTok works, other than to just go click. Here's a reel. They probably don't call it a reel on TikTok. Who
Okay,
knows?
James. I mean, I understand the Instagram, the Facebook, the Twitter, the putting the pods together, writing, in touch with Bri, making sure the graphics are right, the WhatsApp. Don't worry, I'll add TikTok to the list, mate. I'll add TikTok to the list. I know you bring the glamour and the good looks, right? I
Mate,
will do everything else.
mate, I think once ATG's out the way, then presumably I take over everything, and you get all stressed and busy.
We'll see. We'll see. Aye, but aye, TikTok, right? TikTok's next. It's on the hit list. I will make note. Art Tangent, we're a few days away. By the time you're getting this podcast, we will be doing. I mean, I said in the last episode, there's no way this is coming out at 6 a.m. We're on at 10 a.m. and someone's getting a chance to list this beforehand. Somebody posted you underestimate us, Gav. So if you've got your tent or up in your tent at 6 a.m., you're listening to this, well played. Round up your mates, come and see us. 10 a.m. Elephant in the barroom stage. How are you feeling about it?
Good. I'm feeling good. I
You've not
think
gave it
I
any
think
thought basically because you've been too busy.
yeah, but I feel 2000 Trees was stressful because the live podcast was stressful because I knew all my friends would be there. Whereas Arc Tangent, my friends and family. Whereas Arc Tangent, it isn't as many friends and family. There'll be lots of people I know there, but it's not like people that have known me since I was 6 years old as much. So it'll be
Right,
fine.
right.
It'll be fine. Me and you, we're just gonna go for it. We're experts now at the live podcast, I think.
Our expert season pros after
Yeah,
some very nerve-wracking 50 minutes on stage. Unlike yourself, my wife and my 6-year-old daughter are coming to Art
amazing.
Tangent, so I will have family there for the first time, and it's going to be an odd one. I said on Facebook, my daughter is an attention vacuum. She whenever there's a high five and a smile to be got, she's away to get it. So I can see her.
Amazing.
I can see her being at that stage, like hold the bus. What's that clown doing up there? I should be in stage. So
Let's get her up. Yeah,
it's
let's
gonna
get
be.
her
I'll
up.
maybe let her throw out a hot sauce or whatever. Along with your son, will he be there by that point, or is your wife showing up later on?
No, he's I'm ecstatic to say that he's going to stay with my mum and dad for 5 nights over Arctangent.
That's a shame
So
actually, because there's like a damnation creche being set up. So my daughter Charlotte, who's 6 years old, Paul, the co-organizer of Damnation, his daughter Eloise, who I believe is a year older, Natasha, who's handling our merch, her son Eric, who I think's about the same age as well. So there's actually a Arctangent WhatsApp chat with the three mums getting together plans together, making sure they've got enough, I don't know, batteries for iPads and colouring in books to keep them going. So that's a shame that the wee man won't be there to join the fun.
yeah,
But
I mean he's coming down. He's been already a bit, and he's coming down in breakdown. But yeah,
it's a lot though.
Daddy's
It's a
gonna
lot
party
though.
instead.
I had Charlotte came to one Damnation 2 years ago with Eloise actually, and it's a lot on a day because they don't understand why they can't get your attention during that when you've got some tour manager screaming at you because there's
Yeah.
not enough tills, and you're a bit like, it does put you in a bit of a position. So I can understand where you're right in the middle of it why a 5 or 6 year old is not very helpful. Anyone
Oh,
who is going to Arctangent with their children and they want to get involved in that creche action somewhere in some site in Fernhill Farm with our kids, then by all means drop us a message. If you got a 5, 6, 7 year old son or daughter who's coming and going to be on that pod, then we have children to play with them. Have we lost you, James? I've got.
Gav's not playing with any fucking
Oh,
children, is
oh,
he? He's
oh, mate, this sounds slower than
you
some of
got
your
me?
podcast, some of your song recommendations. I think we're losing you slowly but surely. Are you there? And we are back. Wi-Fi issues sorted, James.
Yeah, I want to give Tom from our Wi-Fi team a big shout out. He's hardwired me into the Wi-Fi now.
The best bit of that whole segment, which you'll never see, was James going, if it's connected, is that still Wi-Fi? And Tom's going, no.
Yeah, I'm not a techie guy.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Right, okay. I think I can't even remember where we were
Do,
last,
do you
but
realize that most podcasts just start again and no one knows they cut it? Whereas
aye.
we go, yeah, well,
We're so far beyond that. There's no point trying to pretend the 32 episodes. So, aye, lose brews. Let's have a shout out for the big man and then into the questions. Today's podcast is Q&A 5. So, lose brews. It no longer matters. Type in whatever you fancy, guys. You'll go to the same place. Now, there's a lot of chat now about where's the box set for this, because we've got the Art Tangent sauce, got 2000 cheese sauce, got a Damnation sauce, and let's be fair, they could do a box set just on this. Where's the two promoters one sauce? Where's the Loose Bruce sauce? Where's the We Pour Again sauce? And where's the amazing sauce? I mean, that's the box set I want to see. That is a bestseller right there in those four. So, I mean, all this nonsense we bring the Horizon and fucking Creeper and the rest of them. I agree. Man City, I agree. Look, this is where the money is. This is where the interaction is. So let's see a box set of those four. Until that time, Pod 15, go and grab yourself a Kirsty's Metal Hands and Almost Famous, two of my absolute favourites. James, what's leading the leaderboard for you at the minute?
Kirsty's Metal Hands, Bosk, and the Damnation one are all absolutely cracking.
So there's the
Love them.
recommendations to go and I mean, Lou, don't kid on to me that people aren't using Pod 15. I am reading the comments, mate. You've already got a good deal of this. You don't need to lie to me anymore, okay? Support the big man because he supports us. Start us off. Start us off with the questions, James. What do the people
Okay.
want to know?
Neil Henderson has asked probably the best question I've ever seen on this podcast, which is, I just want to know what each of your favorite Metallica albums are.
Okay, I'll go first because this is the infuriating answer, right? I can't just say St. Anger, can I? I can't just come out there and say it because people are going to fucking look. I can see the reaction in your face straight away. Right, it's not St. Anger, right? But here's the reason why it could be St. Anger. As I've said before, I didn't grow up listening to these bands. I didn't grow up listening to Metallica, Slayer, Black Sabbath. My dad went to raves. I get into music like Dutch hardcore. I listened to fucking DJ Roughneck and DJ Neophyte, and it was the very late teens before I even heard of any sort of metal. And then I fell for metal in a mad way. So I ended up getting a job as a junior reporter by the time I was 20, 19, 19 I was. And I started, there was like a wee music section in the local paper. And I was getting sent CDs. And for my first proper experience of Metallica, out with the Sad But True and Enter Sandman you would see in MTV Tour Scuzz, was St. Anger. It's not St. Anger. Was it? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Aye, St.
That's the
Anger, because the
album.
song St. Anger as well. And so that was the first Metallica record I actually heard from start to finish. And I wasn't blown away with it, but I quite enjoyed it. Like, Fran, tick, 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 tock.
Mate, people are returning their damnation tickets in droves right now.
So,
This could
so
end your festival.
as much as everyone hates us there and everyone hates it, the Metallica, as much as I haven't heard that record maybe in 20 years and it wouldn't get in my top 1,000, it's if these songs were played live and I was watching Metallica, they probably would have a bit more of a nostalgia hit for me than most. But if I had to pick a favourite Metallica album, it would most likely be the Black Album because that's the one with the hits, the bangers that I would know. I have seen Master of Puppets played live in full. I have seen the Black Album played backwards in full. I have seen Metallica 15 times. I do like Seek and Destroy and Whiplash and everything, but I've never listened to Kill 'Em All. I've never listened to Injustice for All and Ride the Lightning. I know what it sounds like. I know what it sounds like. It's like, why would I? Why would I when I've still got White Pony to listen to? So, aye, my answer is the Black Album, but it could so very nearly be St. Anger. So, James, I can just me. I've never seen you so
Wild.
fucking angry.
It's wild. So much of all I was thinking when you were talking is don't reply to Gav. Give your own answer. Gav's answer is so wildly left field that don't try and
Well,
respond
my
to it.
answer is still the Black Album, though, which I understand for a Metallica fan is still the incorrect answer because it has to be one of the first three or four. But the Black Album stands. I mean, that is not an embarrassing answer.
No. Well, look, I've thought a lot about this. I've done whole like me and my mates have been on Zoom talking about exactly this, where I've spent weeks trying to work out what's my favorite Metallica album. So my favorite Metallica album is Injustice for All. Second favorite is Master of Puppets, and basically they are neck and neck. You can't. It's pretty hard to separate them, but if I have to, that's how I do it. Number 3, Ride the Lightning. Number 4, S&M, which is a bit of a controversial choice. 5, Black Album. 6, Death Magnetic. Basically, if I'm going to put a Metallica album on, I'm only going to listen to one of those 6. I have zero interest in Kill 'Em All. Nah, it's just Kill 'Em All's fine. It's got a couple of absolute Metallica classics, but I'm not really a thrash fan, and I'm not here to slag off Kill 'Em All, but I don't think it's that great an album. So those are my 6, and I think the most controversial thing I just said there is that Death Magnetic is the 6th best Metallica album, and I actually think it's the best Metallica album since the Black Album, and I like really think people should go and reappraise Death Magnetic, but yeah, it's really Justice, Puppets, Lightning. That's where you.
So you're not entertaining anything from St. Anger.
No, it's actually because I revisited it in quite a lot of depth about 3 years ago, and it has not stood the test of time well. The songs are like 7 minutes long, and it's like one riff for 7 minutes, and there are some good hooks on it, I suppose, some reasonable choruses, but they just fucking it's a mess.
What's that? I mean, I mean, fuck, I've heard so little of any of them, but I've never heard the latest album. So it was 72 Seasons.
Yeah.
So is that shit as well?
No, it's quite no. I would only say that only Lulu and Saint Anger are the only albums that I think I'm really struggling with. There's good stuff on both the Load albums, but they're fucking overlong. Should have been one album. 72 Seasons is quite good. It's not something to get excited about. I think it's quite good. I think Hardwired Self Destruct is pretty good as well. They're not the band that made Master Puppets. They're never going to do something that's where everyone's going to go, this is the fucking greatest thing ever. But
yeah,
there are. I don't know if we talked about this before, but I always think there are a very small number bands that when you listen to some songs, you're like, fuck me, how did anyone even, how, they're like gods. How did they even write most of And Justice for All, most of Master of Puppets? Like the song Master of Puppets. How does anyone even write something that amazing? That like perfect and brilliant. And I'm always a bit embarrassed to say that really, if I was to list my favorite band is either Metallica or the Wild Arts, and I'm almost a bit embarrassed to Metallica to be my favorite band. But they have got the most number of brilliant songs and the most number of brilliant albums. I
Fair
think
play. Fair
fucking
play.
amazing.
You are, just because you make me a little bit seasick. Since the Wi-Fi's been fixed, your screen's just shaking about.
Am I
And I'm
bouncing
actually,
up and down?
I don't think I just think it's whatever it's on is so flimsy that the screen's just flopping
Sorry,
up
I'll
and
sit
down.
still. I got excited. I get excited by talking about Metallica.
Right, okay. I don't even think it's that, but we'll see if it keeps going because that and YouTube's going to start getting, you got to start getting nauseous when you're watching that. Just keep an eye on it for that. Okay, so I want the final answers to be what you hear for that. The Black Album and Ride the Lightning or Justice for All.
And Justice for All.
Right, okay. All I'm saying was my first real flavour of Metallica was St. Anger, so there's some nostalgia there, okay? Right, as I'm just about to get torn to shreds.
Yeah, that's part of the fun of this podcast. Is that
Ben Summers, you've mentioned curfews a few times. What determines how long you go on for, and do you ever try to push for later times? Do you think the genre of music you put on affects it at all?
um, well, the sort of licensing act, which like the laws around licensing, is that 11 p.m. is nighttime. So anything after 11 is quite strict, and really our license says we have to be, if someone's lying in their bed in a nearby house with their window open, it has to be silent. They can't hear it. So that's quite strict. Now, are there some festivals that have managed to get around that, like Glastonbury and Boomtown and stuff? I'm sure they have. But our council was like, no, both festivals, 11 p.m. is the strict cutoff. So we can still do music late, but it needs to be like acoustic or something quiet. We have to send like Rob Safety to the nearest property, and he's there with his noise reader, making sure that after 11. So it isn't to do with the genre of music, it's to do with the amount of decibels. And I think probably dance music or electronic music carries further. So I don't think it's because it's
Yeah, the guitars and
metal
stuff
and
make
rock.
it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Damnation doesn't. We use a venue that regularly goes to 3, 4, 5 in the morning with dance events. Probably because if you go to the nearest resident's house, you can't hear anything from that point. It's inside. It's an industrial estate. I don't know where the nearest house is. So we have got no issue. We could run Damnation at 3, 4 in the morning. We have got the most lovely crowd in the world, but let's face it, they do not. I mean, they have not got a stomach for a long session,
Yeah,
which
they're ready for bed.
it always strikes me as so weird because these are the same folk that are clearly at Hellfest. Now, Hellfest, you get out your bed in the morning at 10:30, skin dreader on the main stage, and then at 1 a.m. the following morning, Bolt Thrower are coming on the main stage, are coming on a stage, and you're like, fuck me, man. And then you need to do it for 4 days, and we do. Our crowd does. Yeah, Damnation's first bands come on at what, noon, 12:30, and then the last bands come on stage at 11 p.m. And sometimes people are like you've asked them to go down the mines and do a 48-hour shift without a lunch break. It's like how could you do this to us? And I mean, I don't understand it. And one day how people get so flimsy that like this is inhumane for you guys to possibly ask us to go for 11 hours of listening to music and no have a couch each to sit on. So that the reason that we put the last band on by 11, and even at that we get complaints about, oh my god, what do you mean your headliner's finishing at midnight or after midnight, is because there's no way in the world that Damnation crowd would be there if you started a band at 12 or half 12. I mean, you could put on fucking Gojira and half the arena would be empty. I don't know why it is. I'd love an explanation as to why we as a fan base, as a metal fan base, can go to an event like Hellfest or any of these major outdoor festivals for 3 or 4 days and cane it for 4 days, but you come to Damnation and it's just like you have got an 8 hour battery pack in you, and you cannot go beyond that before everyone starts collapsing to the ground.
For me as a fan though, I'm like, I very much at a festival, I'll go in there at 11 a.m. and I'll get myself a beer. And really by 11 p.m. I'm totally done with it. I've had enough, and I might want to talk crap to my mates, but actually I don't want to watch bands by that point.
Yeah,
And you know, Roadburn, which I've been to a bunch of times and I absolutely love. You know, sometimes there's bands, I can't remember what time they finish, but it's like something like 2 or 3 a.m. And I've always got them in my Clash Finder in green, and then you get to 1 and you watch it till like 11:30, and you're like, fuck this. You know, we've had a good day, we've had too much fun. Let's go
yeah,
home. And so actually there is an element of like, it's not dance music, is it? We're not, everyone's not fucking, it's not like everyone's taking some MDMA and let's fucking party all night. It's like bands. So, you know,
yeah.
eventually the beer catches up with you, I think.
Yeah, and I get that. Like, that is not a complaint on, because what I think is the way the damnation structured, actually, that sort of 12 to 12, like 12 hours at an absolute push. If you come in first through the doors and stay until cradle full finish, that's what I'm saying is like the fact you get complaints about that people are like, oh, I mean, the amount of people you read when they're saying, "Oh, thank God I don't like a headline band. I can leave at like 10:30 at night." It's like it's still Saturday night. There's some people in Manchester are not even started their night out yet. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
not going away to a club, even fucking Satan's Hollow until 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and you're like, "Oh, it's 10:30 at night. That's it. I've had my 6 pints. I'm dying." You're like, "Fuck's sake, what have we become, people?" You know what I mean?
I think what we're finding out here is you're not the average 42-year-old.
Maybe not, but don't get me wrong. I die like the besties, but I just feel like for one day you need to have a bit more juice in the tank. You know what I mean? It's like, or maybe I feel like as I'm doing this podcast and it getting a bit more, I don't know, experienced with all of it. It's I think sometimes I'm hyper focused on a minority, and sometimes I feel like I see I see 5 or 6 complaints, and I think that that's the opinion of 5 or 6 thousand people, and it's obviously not. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's a bit of that as well. Sometimes I'm too involved in that community that I hear everything, and as soon as I hear things, oh, that must be valid, and I'm not saying it isn't valid to that person, but it might not be valid to the other 4,000 that are quite happy to go to whatever time or have 2 days or do the Sunday instead of Friday or whatever. So, there's no issue with our curfew other than the
So,
fact I think that
are,
people would leave.
are you, I think following on from this, my question to you would be, are you going to come to the after show party at Arctangent, which does involve, it doesn't start till about, 1, 2, 3.
What does
It
that
involves,
mean? What day?
it involves, it's a Saturday. It's the Saturday night. It involves some commitment.
Listen, I am the after show party at fucking Art Tangent. I've been there the last. What do you like that? You talk about the unofficial gathering that when you end up behind the bar just pulling pints. I'm always there.
Okay,
What
good, good.
wife and child or not, I will be there. Although we just booked our flights, and my wife
Oh
Kelly
God.
wanted the early, like the noon flight, and I was like, "Oh, can we not have the 4 p.m. flight?" She's like, "No, I want to get back up the road. The kids have got school on Monday and all this kind of jazz." And I was like, "That's going to be ropey. That's going to be very ropey."
Yeah, let's not think about that. Maybe just don't go to bed. Okay, next question. Bench Aston says, are split payment ticket options risky for the promoter? They seem to really help with damnation sales this year, but can they ever pose a risk if people stop paying before they're paid off?
Do you do this? Do you do
Like
the
installments?
do you do the installments as well?
Yeah, we do loads. Yeah, yeah,
Have you done that over a number of years? Because I mean I can give an answer
yeah,
to this, but I feel like my answer is very much in the last 12 months, and we're not even at the full cycle. So you might have a bit more experience in what that
yeah,
drop off is.
yeah. We've done it for years, and I don't really think there's a risk because it's not like you get your money back if you disappear off the face of the earth. So, um, there is some drop off with people that don't come, but in reality, most people that have done 8 out of 12 monthly payments for the year, they want to come, don't they? And if they don't, if you suddenly disappear, you don't. It's not like you get a refund if you don't want to carry it on. So, um, it's great and it's really brilliant for cash flow, which is really important because it makes people buy early. You know, I think it's a lot. Festival tickets are expensive, so the installments make it cheap, make it feel cheap. It's the same price, but you pay monthly. So yeah, I don't think there's a risk at all, really.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I'm glad you say so. I mean, we last year we started it quite late, and it was we had a good uptake with it. I heard from Skiddle there was almost next to no drop off on people who started the payments to see it through, a couple of percent, almost, I mean, negligible. And this year, well, obviously, we've done the big deal with. Now, I think what Ben's meaning a wee bit, somebody pays, he goes, somebody's went in and committed their £7.50 or their £8, and then it looks to you like you've got a ticket sale, but then they never pay the second instalment. So you only see £7.50 at a ticket sale, which would ultimately be 80. Then is that the risk? But the truth is, I'm not quite sure the technical, but I think the schedule will give you like 3 months to finally make some sort of effort to make the next payment before that ticket would become available again anyway. So ultimately, if you were going to sell it, I assume you would sell that ticket again at full price, and then you would have £7.50 extra.
yeah,
I think we've never, as I say, it's our first full year of it. It's been hugely successful. People who did not have £80 spare last November did have £7 spare last November,
yeah,
and 1,300 of them bought them without a ban being announced. And that is everything to Damnation. I mean, you can go in all guns blazing, knowing that you've got some sort of platform to some sort of foundation to then go and make offers to booking agents and be a bit more ambitious with your offers as well, because you know it's huge. It's next year. I'm actually hoping to get it started right off the bat to have. I mean, if Damnation is going to be a 2 day event next year, it will obviously be more expensive. So I want that first initial payment to be very affordable, and for you to
yeah,
be able to spread it across as much of the year as possible. That your 10 or 12 quid or whatever it's going to be is your Netflix account. I mean, but next thing you know, you're at next year's Damnation at 2 days yet, and you've already paid all 3 months in advance, and it's never hit you for any proper fee. So we've found it amazing, and hopefully by the time Skid will come back to us with a report post this year's Damnation, the drop off at any point for anyone, because you don't want that either. I mean, I don't particularly want your £40 if you're never attending the company Damnation, because you're from at the end of the day, we're not a travel lodge. We're no EasyJet. I mean, ultimately, you can put a ticket in sale and say, give us an extra 20 quid and we'll secure it for you. And you can cancel at any point, but we don't. We give you it at the same price no matter how you buy it. You know what I mean? So ultimately, once you make that commitment, you're stopping someone else from getting to that show if it sells it. So you need to you need to go into it with the same sort of good faith that you're buying that ticket at £7.50, because you are going to see through the payments and then come to the festival.
yeah, absolutely. I think it's it's a thing that all events should be doing, basically. So I
Yeah.
would I would recommend people do it.
Matthew Davidson's clearly want to cause a wee bit of a rift between you and your best friends. Here's a bit of a naughty question for James. Next year, you have to cancel one of your festivals, but you can throw all the budget at the other one. Which one gets the boot? Is it your first love or is it the sexy mistress? Tell me.
I'm going to cancel Arctangent and I'm going to add 2 new stages at 2000 Trees that I'm going to book Arctangent style bands. Because I think ultimately the best music, I've said this before, I think my favourite music is at Arctangent. My favourite vibe is at I mean, you can't really beat 2000 Trees for a vibe, I don't think. The vibe's good at Arctangent, but it's spectacular at 2000 Trees. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to like shoehorn a bit of Arctangent into 2000 Trees and we're going to have a lovely time at Upcote Farm.
To be fair, he gave you that opportunity. He gave you the budget art tangent to go in another direction, didn't he? I mean, and I
Yeah.
tell you what, that would be what a festival that would be. That to play devil's advocate in, because let's say you get the extra. I mean, Trees is at the capacity of where you are, so you can add. Say, let's say an extra 6,000 people show up because that tangent music. How do you make Upcote Farm work for that?
Well, yeah, I mean that's a challenge, isn't it? You've got to do a Glastonbury and like expand into the surrounding farms and
You
yeah, because
pass through
we're
you pass through a wee portal. So you're now the art
yeah,
tangent section. No kid shit, just people listening to Awful and Punisher.
yeah, this is where the geeks are over here, nodding their head and stroking their beards. So
Brilliant,
yeah,
brilliant.
I think that would be good.
I know that you're reading these questions from a phone. You don't have a printer sitting in front of you, so I'm giving you the opportunity to be able to get them as well.
Yeah, no, I'm ready to go. So Strangers with Guns asks, what's the smallest fee difference you've ever lost a band on? Has someone said 750 and you're on 500 and that's that? And are there bands that you don't approach purely because of a bad relationship with their agent?
Okay, so in the first point, it's weird because you could technically not book a band because of £250, which would seem insignificant in grand scale of things. But by that point, it's never really about the £250. It's about the 3 grand bridge you've tried to get in the middle. You know what I mean? It's like you're willing to pay 7 and they want 10. And then they're saying, right, okay, well, if you come up to 9 and you go to 8, and then can we get to 7? And by that point, you just feel like you've stretched where you're willing to go a bit too far. So it's not about the £250, it's about the fact that, oh, this is actually 2 grand more than I wanted to pay. But if I do the extra £250, I can get to what they're willing to accept. So you would really need to be talking about opening bands before you were getting to that level where if you've got a band that you know that other bands in the same scale will play for free, which again, like Art Tangent and 2000G, you don't play Damnation for free. You will get £100 and you will get a rider. But if you get what you know that same caliber of band would play Damnation for free, and then you've got a band in the same sort of trajectory as them, and they're asking for 400, then you're just not going to get the piss taken at you because they've got a bigger agent or because they're a relationship agent. So that's the only time you would ever say, no, I'm not paying 400 because I know that other bands like that would play for 100 and I think they're worth 100 at the minute. But in terms of the big bands, it's never about the actual small margin. It's about how far you've already pushed yourself to get to that small margin before it's like a straw that breaks the camel's back, and Damnation's point of view.
Yeah, and on the big bands, you never it's never hundreds of pounds, is it, that you're gonna fall out over. For me, I'm like, I've said this before, but if you really want a band, you're gonna book them, and once you've done all the negotiating, if it needs more money and you desperate for that booking, or not desperate, but you really know that booking's the right one for your festival, you're gonna do it. I think it's important to realize that when the question talks about like 250 quid, I don't think you ever really lose a booking over 250 quid because you make that decision. It's not like the agent's like, let's say the agent says 750 and you say no 500 and they say, okay, see you later. As the promoter, you then get to go, all right then, 750. You even get to go 2 months later, all right then, 750. It's not like it disappears. It doesn't like evaporate.
Yeah.
Like at that level of artist, they're probably still going to be available.
Yeah, and you're
You've got
right. I mean, I'm trying to put that in context, but you're right. When you get higher up, when you're the second slot at Damnation, there's no margins at 250. I mean, it's
no,
like that's already the margins go per grand, and
yeah,
then by
yeah,
the time you get into the middle of the main stage, it's 2.5, and then you get to
yeah,
the top of the main stage. I mean, I made an offer yesterday for a band, again, not massive. And I said 15, and the agent came back and said, could you get to 20? I mean, he never said, could you get to 15, 250? It just his brackets go up by
yeah.
5. And you're like,
At a certain level.
it's like how like the other band's total fees are 5 or less, and this guy's just this is the only way he operates. It's like, oh well, we'll just add another 5 or take him. So are you booking them for 15 or are we getting 20 for them? And almost the conversation didn't seem to be happening in between.
No, and 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 at the end of the day, if you really want them, you're going to go to 20 on that. But if you're not that bothered, and
Yeah,
sometimes, I had an agent ring me yesterday. Let's hope he's not listening. Um, to say where's my offer for this band for Trees next year, and I was like, well, at the end of the day, mate, I'm not that bothered about the band. I might book them. They're not a priority for me. It's August. The festival's in July. They're not a priority, and they have no chance of driving me high on fee. I'm going to offer what I want to offer, and that's it. But
yeah,
when it's like, fuck me, I really want this band. And sometimes those bands are small, medium, or large.
yeah,
But when you really want them, you're gonna fucking
yeah.
you're gonna be negotiable.
Yeah, and there's a question later that come on about just to split up my ownership of the festival to your ownership of both the festivals and how that's different. I want to come back to that, like the difference of like having a shared pot to come back to me just sitting there going, ah shit, Kelly, there's not 2 grand out of Charlotte's fucking university fees, you know what I mean? So we will come
Yeah.
back to that. Before that, Andrew Goodberry, regarding Art Tangent Wednesday and Night of Salvation, when booking the bands for these, how do you approach which bands to book, and the fees you'll pay? So do you look at Art Tangent Wednesday with a completely different lens and the budget or what's there, or do you just say right, this is all under the same umbrella and that's what I've got?
Well, both 2003s and Octangent were trying to sell about 4,000 tickets on the Wednesday, and to pack the one stage out, the Forest or Yokai stage, So I'm trying to book bands that are about the right size for that. I'm not trying to book Metallica to headline Yokai stage. It's like this year and So Much from Afar. Like, I think in the past I've had Russian Circles do it. So I want a headliner that people are like excited about. 2000 Trees last year had Bob Villain, this year Boston Manor. So I start off with like who can headline it, and you're not trying to go massive, but you're trying to be big or and exciting. And really, the Wednesday lineups at our festivals are bands that people loved previously. They're like Trees bands that
Yeah,
people had a really good time with. It's not They're repeat bookings, and it's like what were like LLNN last year at ATG was fucking amazing. So they're playing Wednesday this year. Cobra the Impaler, smallish band, went great last year. People really liked it. They're playing they're playing the Wednesday this year. So Wednesday's just like a greatest hits of the previous year or years. For me, that's how I do it.
yeah,
Um, it's like the easiest night to book because you just like kind of like you go through your own opinions, and then you go through like what people are saying on social media. And I think I might have said before, we have cameras up in the stages, so we have the data on how busy each crowd was, and we're
yeah.
just trying to book bands that people love.
Yeah, yeah, I mean,
Um, it,
and it makes sense to have that. I mean, talk about. I mean, we have broached the subjects of the grey areas and the bullshit you get for agents and managers, and the grey areas about fees and what bands actually sell where and how. There's nothing more tangible than a camera in your own festival, seeing your own fan base filling a tent or not. Know what I mean? And it's
yeah,
difficult to argue. It's difficult to go argue with that. It's like, oh well, Hidden Mothers and Dinner Slash and Buzz might not be the 2 biggest bands in the world, but did they fill a tent or not? Yes, they did. So I good. Because I'm looking at the Wednesday and the Wednesday's a lot of fun. That everyone gets that warm up feeling it as well. It's like we're just here. We don't need to worry about clashes. Everybody's got that first day energy, and you just go in and you catch these bands that are already popular. You're not even taking any chances. I'm like, oh, I hope people like this band. You just get a chance to go in and right, okay, let's just watch this raw band and enjoy it.
yeah, and you haven't got to be like, oh yeah, we're having a really good chat, but to be honest, I just want to go and watch the next band. It's just like you after the band, there's a break.
Yeah, yeah, aye. So I mean, with Night of Salvation, there is definitely we do approach it differently. There is a financial freedom to Night of Salvation. Because Damnation swallows all the costs of that production. That production doesn't double in price. I mean, because the stage goes up doesn't mean you need to pay for the stage to go up twice. It doesn't mean you need to pay for the lighting rigs, the video walls. There is a supplementary charge, but it's not the same. Even the venue hire. So when you're doing that, there's a bit of a financial freedom. You're not looking at that 100 grand just to get the venue operational. The 100 grand's already been spent. Maybe you need to spend another 25 grand to have it for the Friday. So you can book something that's a bit more experimental, a bit more fun. You've got the bonus of people will buy the tickets that might otherwise not because they're going to be in the city or they're looking for something to do on the Friday night. So you see a bump in sales for that. So it does come under the same budget. It is all my budget, and I do need those tickets to sell for the Friday as well. You don't can't have an empty night. If nothing else, just due to embarrassment, you need to fill an arena. You do not want 500 people. 500 people in an arena is like 3 people in a club show. It's like it's empty. You need people to show up for it. So thankfully that's happened so far. And this year's on track, and we'll still get like 6 bands to announce for Night of Salvation as well, and a few crackers in there, and hopefully a really good replacement for Sycamore, which we're still working on. So, aye, it's different. It doesn't work. It's not. It doesn't have the same restrict. Like when you book for Damnation, like this band must sell. It must work. Where Night of Salvation is a wee bit more freedom.
Yeah, good. I'm all so next year we're doing 3. Is it when you keep saying Damnation's 2 days next year? Is it actually 3?
I don't know. So what I mean is, like, if we go next year, it'll be full day Saturday, full day Sunday. It'll be a full weekend. It will all be Damnation. There'll be nothing in between. Whether we do the Night of Salvation next year is a question mark over that. And whether we do it, we probably won't do it in that venue. So we'll do something smaller in Manchester.
Okay.
This is all very up in the air. But I get what you mean. A lot of people are like, well, I already go to 2 days. But as my argument's always been, those are 2 separate events, whether people believe it or not.
Good. Who's am I next?
Yes, yes. Is the rut of the rum starting to hit you? Because believe me, the ciders are starting to hit me, mate.
I just usually so organised with my printed sheets, and I'm reading off my phone. So Ray Dennis says, for James, how has going from 6 friends attending a festival together? This feels like a question you should be reading.
Okay, I'll do it. Ray Dennis. For James, how has going from 6 friends attending a festival together to 6 friends running a festival together changed and challenged your friendship dynamic? Let's just go with that because there's a part 2 of this. So, I mean, and I'm like, I will, a wee prelude to that. I started a bus company with 2 of my very best friends, 2 best men at my wedding. It was tough. There was a serious fall to the end, which those 2 might never have been friends again. And it was only going for 2 years. I invested in a body piercing and tattoo studio with my auntie. It was tough. I got to a point that me and my auntie had to. I do not want to get involved in any business ventures with friends or family. When money gets involved and there's a nuanced wee grey areas, it can get really, really tough. Anybody who's in a family has lost a grandparent, and then it's all like who the split between where the money goes for the house and which like I've seen it now a few times. It always gets messy, and I have to say, without ever saying this to you publicly, I've been super impressed the fact that you seem to have kept the 6 you seem to be on the face it's so goddamn friendly after all these years.
Yeah, I mean that. So the 2000 Trees guys is like my brother, 2 friends from school and 2 friends from university. So it's like I was like I'm the person who knows all of them. So it was weird early on. I think we all kind of were getting to know each other. We used to go to Reading every year and get drunk, but everyone didn't really know each other. And as we talked about before, it was a kind of a drunken idea to run a festival, but really we get on fucking great. I mean, we have our issues. When we have meetings, me and Rob, my brother, will often fall out, and the other 4 just sit back and let us like duke it out for a bit, and then we move on. So there's definitely a brotherly thing there. But overall, we're great mates and my best friends, and they were my best friends when we started, and they still are. And yeah, there's some stuff where you disagree, and there's some stuff where you have to chat about money and profit splits and stuff, and it's all like it's not what you should necessarily be doing with your friends. But we did a 2000 Trees documentary years and years ago, and there was a quote from my dad which I didn't know about until the documentary was finished, which he said, I thought James and Rob were going to lose all their friends and all their money. And obviously the risk was that we were going to lose all our friends, but we're stronger friends than ever. Simon's here this weekend because he also does Arctangent, and like me and him have done like 26 festivals together in the last 17 years. So the bond is like really tight.
Yeah.
Like it's like we do fall out sometimes, but the bond is tight. We've been to like hell and back. When you have really bad years, bad years of weather or whatever, you really go there with. It's like I'm getting cheesy now, but it's like the football team that have all dug in and won in the last minute together. It feels like that sometimes. So we're great. I
Yeah,
don't
I
think it's
mean,
really changed our. I don't think in reality, the only thing it's changed is that sometimes when we're in the pub, we talk about work, but it hasn't changed our friendship.
yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing because, as I say, that was I am I'm not a money motivated guy, and I don't think I would. In fact, I actually think I saved the friendship and the relationship between the three best friends with the bus company because I'm not a money motivated guy, but I could see how quickly small things become big things and then become huge fractures. And I was like, oh my God, didn't they do that? I mean, fuck me, at a festival, and when you know the things that go into a festival and who's pulling their weight, who's not pulling their weight, what
Yeah,
happens when the shit hits the fan, what happens when somebody's got their own shit going on in their own life and then they don't have time for the festival. It's just so many dynamics could get really tough, and for you guys to do that for as long as you've done it, and I saw it firsthand at Cheese. I mean, yous are friends. You know what I mean? It's like, and yous are in it, and we're fucking. I mean, no one smiles more in the world than the guy Andy. He's the happiest fucking man alive in his wee bike. So it's but like it was great to see. It's great to see. I mean, I have an amazing relationship with Paul, but Paul doesn't own half a damnation, so we don't. I mean, we'll disagree in things, and I'll take his opinion on board like he does own half a damnation, but we don't need to fall out about the money. We don't need to
yeah,
look at the budget sheet at the end of the last year and go, "I'm going fuck's sake, Gav, did we not just work all year? And where's my money?" You know what I mean? So there's
yeah,
a
yeah.
there's a bit of that. So I well done. The
Well,
second part, sorry.
yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna read the second part to you. So, Ray says, conversely for Gav, do you imagine that it is more liberating having the level of individual control that you have for damnation, or do you sometimes envy the shared responsibility?
Yeah, yeah, both. It's a curse and a blessing. I do envy. I mean, and I've never envied more than being on this podcast and you saying, "Oh, Jerry handles fucking security and Rob's away decorating the site and Si's the man doing the tickets," and I'm like, "Oh fuck, man, that's amazing. That is truly amazing." And now I'm trying to build that structure around damnation. I think through this podcast, well, now Paul has always he sets up the tickets. He's always been involved in production since they first came on board. He there is no real decision, even when it comes to the band bookings, that he's not plays a part. I mean, I bounce everything off him, and he's very good for sometimes I get carried away and be a bit too enthusiastic and dreamy. And I mean, I used to call him Mr. Pessimist, but he sometimes is good to have that, like, Gav, calm down. You know what I mean? It's like you're getting carried away. But ultimately, again, it goes full circle. You're back to when the shit hits the fan, the only person that's holding the fan is you. And that is what something I'm trying to give you. So I've got Natasha, who's coming to Art Tangent next weekend with her son. She's going to come on board and try to play the part that Kev plays for you and the merchandise. And we have had Mike Tate on board with the crew for, I don't know, 10 years. This year, he's actually going to take on that volunteer crew that we've got. This bunch of bodies have been with us. We've just collated over years. And he's going to take responsibility for that solely. No me sitting, and me or Paul sitting on the shoulder with every single decision that gets made. And we're trying to do that. We've got Angela coming on board for advancing. So try to be a bit more like, I don't know, your Sarah. So this is the first year we're like, right, okay, Marios came on last year, obviously took on production, which he handled spectacularly. So there's a lot of that where it's like, right, okay, this is doing no one any favours, especially not me, to try and micromanage this arena size event over 2 days. Because there's some areas of this where I have no expertise at all. And it does no one any favours. So aye, the other side of it, is it liberating never to have to ask for permission for anything? Yes. Although I have to say, talking to you, it feels like you do that anyway with both your festivals, even though there's fucking another 7 or 8 people involved, that you just take that gav roll and say, oh, this is what's happening, and that's the end of it.
I mean, they're all listening to this, so I don't really know how to answer that. But I think there's some things we do as a group, and some things you just do. I
Yeah,
never ask questions to anyone about bands, really. There's the odd occasion. I remember ringing up Simon, being like, the first time we booked Explosion in the Sky, and being like, "This is a wild fee because we're flying them in for one show.
yeah,
Are you behind me on this? Because I don't want to lose him a load of money unless he's at least agreed to it. You
yeah.
know, so I think we all trust each other to do our jobs, I suppose.
Yeah.
And but yeah.
Yeah, and it's liberating. I mean, and I want to give a massive shout out to Paul. I mean, like he is my Simon, my Jock, my Rob, Andy. He's that guy that I mean, fuck me, it'd be a pretty lonely and depressing place to try and organise damnation. Where as much as it's nice never to have to ask permission, you do want a sounding board. I
Yeah.
mean, my wife will try her best at the thing to care, but she's just like looking like Pig Destroyer? What does what the fuck does that mean? It's just looking at me blankly. Why are you saying these words to me, Gavin? That I mean, so you like we're on the phone sometimes in a day, 5, 6, 7 times in a day, and then we've got a couple of days without, and then we speak like just when what do you think of this idea? And what should we do about that? And well, who should we get to that? And you need that trying to just Billy Big Boss it and be like, I've got all the answers is the fucking recipe for disaster. So, I mean, shout out to Paul who will be there next weekend with Antonia, his wife, and his daughter Eloise. They have been massive in this as well.
Good. I mean, I think with having someone else is quite nice to just like when I was doing fencing today with like 15 people, Simon was with me because he drives the telehandler. He moves the fencing around. And like a few times I was just saying to him, how you getting on? How you feeling? We're on top here, aren't we? We're winning, it's going well, isn't it? And it's just the rest of them are just having a lovely time and they haven't got any of the stress. So every so often it's nice to just go and be like, you okay? Are you doing all right?
Yeah,
How you feeling? We're on top here, aren't we? We've got this. And that's the beauty of having somebody who's got equal amounts of responsibility as you, is that you can ask them, I think.
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, Rich credentials, a long-term damnation fan, lover of the pasty that we never ever get sorted for. Rich, we will get it sorted. And also, Rich, by this point, you're probably the only person that cares and ask this question, but I did say we would get a damnation clothing design done for Arctangent. I've not managed to make that happen. It's we just with everything with the podcast and everything else and sick of it all dropping it, it just became like too far down the to-do list. So I'm sorry, mate. There will not be a damnation clothing option, but please do pick up a two promoters, one pod t-shirt. He's asking, what was both your opinions on Sonisphere starting at the time from a promoter's perspective? Mad to think that it happened a decade later. Festivals are still struggling. So, what was your? Did you go to either of the Sonispheres?
No, and I don't actually have any. I have no opinion other than that it's pretty impressive what they tried to do, because they tried to do what everyone really wants download to do, I think, and like they had like a sort of like a credible download lineup. So they went deeper,
Yeah,
and they were booking the Mars Altar and Opeth on their smaller stages, and you know they had the big stuff, and it felt like a deeper lineup of quality, but it didn't work, did it? Because I guess because Download have got really the monopoly on big festivals around the
yeah,
UK.
yeah. I mean, we won't know the exact ins and outs for the back. What was going on there? I'm sure there was a tussle for those several years in the 2 years that Sonisphere happened. The two festivals were really duking it out. But yeah, I went to both. That's great that was your opinion from the outside looking in of those events because that's exactly what happened. They were fucking brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. And I said before in the podcast, I mean, the idea of going somewhere and seeing, I don't know, Megadeth in 65 Days of Static was never a thing when Damnation started. And I'm not for a second saying that Sonisphere took any influence for the wee ant in the map that was Damnation, but that was a major event where you could go and see Anthrax or Slayer and 65 Days of Static and Rhinoa. And I think they had Maybe She Will playing there. It was just, for my tastes, it was perfect.
Yeah,
The 2 days were the site Nebworth worked amazing for it. You could go between the four tents. I mean, the for the type of music that I'm into, to go and watch a band like Rhino, the fourth tent was curated. I mean, it was a proper someone thought about it and made
yeah,
those bands like this is important to us, the bands we want here. So you could go into that. You'd see bands like And So I Watch My Father, Rhino, or Maybe She Will, and be like, fucking hell. Don't get me wrong, not to huge crowds, not that like even Sonisphere's audience had were completely switched on. Still a couple hundred people and still an amazing set. And then you'd walk for that and you'd go into, as you say, you had your Opeths and your Mars Voltas, and even in the main stage, there was bands that you just weren't seeing it down with, like your Nine Inch Nails and the it was Alice in Chains. Even it just seemed like it just seemed more vibrant. It seemed less of the whatever download we're doing at the time. And we've spoke plenty about how bad downloads full stage was 10 years ago, pre-Cam Hack, when you would go in there and it was patchy. I mean, it was like you could get to the headline band and it was still patchy. I mean, it's like people are here because it's Bions and fucking friends
Yeah.
and handshakes behind scenes, whereas that did not, that flavour was not there for Sonisphere. But sadly, for whatever reason, but was it the third year they attempted and one that they had Queen? Did that collapse that one? They had,
Oh yeah.
I think by the third year, they just the pool of bands that they could get their hands on had just evaporated and they just couldn't compete with the might and history of download and they disappeared. I'm sure the people behind the scenes that know about these decisions and what actually happened could tell you the proper story, but that was my interpretation of it from someone who went to both of the two that happened, and it was sad to see it go.
Yeah, and I think they did announce that it's never coming back. But, you know, it's expensive putting on outdoor festivals, so you've got to sell a lot of tickets, and you know, and also booking Queen, which is not Queen, is not a good career move for a promoter.
You're big on you're big on losing band members. I'm not having that. That is not the same band.
No,
Who's next? David Mitchell. I'm going to read it, James. Can see you on
fucking
your
hell, sorry,
goddamn
mate.
phone. Have you ever
No,
considered?
no.
I'm asking you the question anyway. David Mitchell, have you ever considered Duster or Do Make Say Think for Art Tangent? Don't even know who the fuck Duster are.
No, I haven't considered Duster, but I will check them out. Do may say think yes. There's been a couple of conversations, I think. So yeah, you know, the long list of bands for both of the festivals is fucking massive. So we talked to a lot of bands to get to the final thing, and you know,
What actually appears there. He does also please eventually answer my question about TPD TV. Now I think now here's the issue with I know I was joking earlier about James and his hands-off approach to this podcast. As much as he does love it, I am the man who looks at all like the requests on Instagram, the DMs, the whatever they are. If you're sending private messages for the questions, even if they're great questions, the chances that I'll remember a week later to go back and find where that message was to get are slim. They're slim, right? So just give me a fighting chance and post them on the Facebook page or the Instagram page where James might actually see them too. So I think his question when he's talking about is so TPDTV, that's the mob, that's the guys that go to different festivals and do
yeah,
the videos, the blogs.
yeah,
I haven't seen any of them. I've got a friend on a WhatsApp chat, Joe, who does watch them and he sticks up wee comments every now. I have never watched one of them. I don't really know anything about them. The fact they get hundreds of thousands of views. If they were ever wanted to come to Damnation, I would welcome them with open arms. They've clearly got a huge audience. I believe they did do 1 trees, so you're probably in a better position to say what it's all about.
yeah. But what is their question?
Are they? Do you value their influence? These not just that. I think that was one example. Do we value the influence of I don't know influencers? I suppose to be called vloggers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, they came to Trees a bunch of times. I feel like they weren't there this year, but they've been every other year for a number of years, and you know, tens of thousands of people watch their vlogs, and they've got their very own particular style. I had quite an issue with them. So the 2000 Trees silent disco, we've had problems over the years with people being on the stage, not just the DJs, just other people being on the stage and then drinking and smoking, and the sound crew being like, for fuck's sake, this is a work area. Why? Who are these people? Um, you know, why they're on the stage. So we had to put in some quite tight rules nowadays over who's allowed on stage during the silent disco. In fact, this year at 2000 Trees, even the organisers weren't allowed on the stage, which I found out when I tried to get on the stage and had a big argument with a fucking security guard. But it's like, it's trying to keep it professional. Anyway, so I was 2 years ago, I was walking through the cave at 2000 Trees with my friends. I didn't have any silent disco headphones on, and I looked up at the stage, and there was what looked like a big altercation happening. And there was people like squaring up to each other and getting a bit pushy. And I went up there, and it was our sound crew and TPD TV. And basically, TPD TV and I genuinely don't know who was at fault, but TPD TV had brought their crew with them, and it was a lot of people. And our sound crew were very, very fucking upset about them being there. And they were all like nose to nose, getting a bit fucking hilarious.
So were they like, you know who we are? We have to be. We want on stage. Is that?
Well, they were like, they were like,
they weren't DJing it in.
We're allowed to be here. We're allowed to be here. This guy's DJing, but we're all in the crew. We're all in the, not the crew in the sense of like carrying the amps. We're just like, you know,
we're all in this. Aye.
Yeah. So we all need to be here, and it got all a bit lively, and I was aware as it was happening that one of the guys was filming, because it's a vlog, right?
Yeah.
So I was aware as we were all arguing up there, and I'm literally trying to stop a fight, whilst there is about 2,000 people in the cave having a lovely time to the silent disco. I'm trying to stop a fight, and I was aware he was filming, and the video's out there. And to be fair to him, he didn't. I'm not really in it. I'm kind of in the background, but yeah, it was all a bit lively. So,
and how is that? I take it, I mean, if they're as successful as getting hundreds of thousands of views, I take it that it's very well produced content.
Well, no, because the nature of that sort of vlog is that it's like on the ground.
It's just like boom in your face.
It's like them going, "What's it like in the campsite at 2000 Trees? What are the toilets like? Which bands did we like?" So it isn't that they're what makes them successful is not high value, well produced content. It's interesting content.
Us either.
Absolutely, mate. And I can't believe you were giving me shit a minute ago for my monitor moving, and I've just had you stuck to a fucking window in Mexico.
No, but at least I'm fucking literally 35 degrees with my phone case melting. You can't stop a screen from moving backwards and forwards.
But yeah, so they're great. TPD TV are great, and you know, I hope they come back to Trees, and I value them definitely.
The final question, mate. The final question before we do it on the record, and then I see you live next week, mate.
Yes.
Or if you're listening in your tent at 6:05 today, Rob Dand. Don Broco headline Trees this year, but I've never played before, which feels pretty rare because normally bands come back and work their way up the stages, especially British ones. Was there a reason they'd not been asked before? Now, that's very presumptive that as soon as you ask a band, they're going to say yes. I mean, fuck's sake, they would have played Damnation 19 times by now if they just played everything we asked. So explain to us, James. Have they been asked before? And if so, why is this the first time I've been here?
Well, look, I think there's definitely an element of the bands that end up playing a lot at the festivals, or the bands that are the easiest to book, are the ones where you've got like a really, really good booking agent relationship. And Don Breaker's booking agent is American, so he's never pushed me hard on booking them. Probably doesn't know what 2000 Trees is. I know their managers really well. And we've had some conversations over the years, so that there isn't some like weird beef here with why haven't Don Broco played Trees. It's just like some years, let's say the Chats or Enter Shikari, I know the people involved really well, and we're constantly talking. I'm on the phone to Enter Shikari's agent all the time, and you know, it just makes it so much easier. We can have a reasonable chat. Whereas if it's an agent that you're just not, and I have this a bunch with bands, American bands, where it's like, I don't know, like for Arctangent, like Crosses or the Melvins. They're just like agents that don't know me, they don't know the festival, and no matter how much you try to break those barriers down, they just don't know you.
Yeah,
So I think Broco's a bit like that. But yeah, there's no big story here, and they were fucking brilliant. I
yeah,
thought.
yeah. So what changed this year? Just the timing. What changed it? Or they just throw too much money that they couldn't say no? What's why? So if you never had that relationship, but this is the year that you broke down that barrier to get the band, what changed?
Well, so I have, as we've talked about, I have a list of bands that I inquire with every year, and they're one of them. And I was told they're not available, and then I got through my list and got into Panic Town, and you go back to a few fucking bands, and their I didn't go to the agent, I went to the manager they're based in London, and I was like, still got a headline slot of Trees. Do they not want it? And he's like, they're recording, it would need to be an offer that was like a proper offer, that is worth them disrupting their recording plans.
I change your mind offer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I made them a change of mind offer.
Okay, makes total sense. Oh, mate, I you know what? Because I'm 4 or 5 cans now. And I'm not as much as I do drink a lot. I'm not the kind of guy who can just not buy. I'm
No,
definitely getting to
sure,
this
Gav.
stage.
We all believe you.
I'm definitely getting to that stage now. Where I could have an argument about Machine Head. So let's.
This is going to be our longest ever episode. I mean, how
It's,
long have we been here?
it's tough to tell because we had a huge chunk in the middle where you were dealing with some guy with Wi-Fi. So
Oh yeah,
it may well be. It's been a lot of fun. I hope the listeners have had a lot of fun listening to it too. I have enjoyed this one. I've been more relaxed. I think it's a good setup. It's a good setup for next week. What we're talking about next week? Are we doing the same as Cheese? Are we going on and just tackling Art Tangent and open up to the crowd? Is that the plan?
yeah. I think the opening up to the crowd is great because
Oh
you
no,
can
we'll
keep
definitely
going
have
and
the
going and
crowd. But I
going.
mean, are we doing
Um,
anything? Is it just a case of because I feel like you left me hanging a wee bit with some like you gave me the quick shift at the fun. I was like 20 minutes in, like James, help me here, pal. And you're just sitting
but
with your can going, "This is lovely, Gav." Answer,
mate,
ask some questions.
we'll do it live at Damnation, and I will run it. But fuck me. Basically, it's currently Saturday. I've got Sunday, Monday. I've got 3 days,
Yeah.
and then we're in the field. So yeah, we're winging it.
Well, winging it. Listen, I would hate to see what not winging it would look like because I'm sure that that's the first one would be like, boo, Gungees, pedals. Know what I mean? It's like fucking, I am not enjoying this anymore. These people are not what I'm tuning into. Hey, give me back my £3 for coffee. So, aye, we'll wing it. We'll wing it. But before then, let's on the record that I said to you earlier. Let's do an tangent band that people could still get a chance to catch. And my thinking with that was Year No Light. And then when I actually looked through on the record, I realised that we have never put forward an Amun Ra band, an Amun Ra track, which is fucking sacrilege. That is just not on. Now, by the time you hear this pod, Amun Ra will have played last night or will have already played Art Tangent. So I'm sorry about that. But you should have known better anyway. You should have known better. Like, Amun Ra are my Metallica. I know all the Amun Ra records. I love Amun Ra. And I'm looking forward to catch them. Probably feeling a wee bit bad I'm missing Talkie Horror unless Talkie Horror pull out again anyway. So let's go with A Solitary Rain from
Yeah.
Amun Ra's extensive back catalogue. There's so many great tunes there, but that one is religious. And I am looking forward to seeing it with two projectors across a pink king pole that kept us on the road. Boom.
They are. That song is fucking brilliant. Great choice. I'm gonna go for Blood Command. Um, Blood Command are they play 2000 Trees and they're playing Arctangent, and like there's some things that I booked at Arctangent this year that are a bit more fun, and Blood Command are fun and over the top and catchy and weird and fucking mental and like so. I'll let you choose the song, Gav, because I've just tried to look on my phone and it's not having it. So
Well,
something off the new record is really
well,
great.
Well. Mr. Gary Davison. The Mr. Gary Davison's like he was a Damnation fan way back in the day, and he's one of these guys. He's always happiest when he's watching a band in a basement with seven other people, and once they get to eight fans, he doesn't like them anymore, right? And he watches us on YouTube and supports your festival, but no longer supports mine because he said mine's too expensive, but your festival's like 4 times the
Good.
cost.
Yeah, great.
Go figure, right? So he's coming down next weekend, and he said of your sumac choice from last week, albeit excellent, was the most inaccessible track of the new record, which you picked because you wanted it to be more accessible. So talk me through that.
I mean, no one's picking sumac to be accessible.
Well,
Fuck me.
you said they were so difficult that you were going to go on a new record. Then I think you picked like the opening track because lazily that's what you always do.
Right.
You pick the top track or the opening track, and he's went, mate, that one's fucking that's like tar in comparison to the
Mate,
rest of the record.
my mate Al texted me saying, "Do you realise you just added a 25-minute song to on the record?" I was like, "Oh no, I didn't actually."
If that's the case, I will change that. I'll listen to that fucking record and I'll change it, right? So you're doing the same, but Blood Command, no matter who we pick,
Well, their songs are 2.5 minutes,
they're
so
two and a
you'll
half
be fine.
minutes.
You'll be fine. They're bangers. The last album, I think it was called World Domination, is fucking great, and I think it will be. It's an experiment at Arctangent because they're fun. So let's see if people want to have fun or not.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to chat about this for absolute certain because Spiritualized will have played by the time that we're on stage together, and we are going to discuss what does make an Arctangent band by next week because I feel like even in the 5 months that we've been doing this, even your perception of what an Arctangent band seems to be expanding. And they like talk about Arab Strap and now having Spiritualized playing on stage and like where does it end? Does it even need to end? Is it just a case you just do it Pookle Pop and just do whatever the fuck you want? So aye, I'm looking forward to chatting about that, looking forward to seeing you, looking forward to bringing the family down, having a great time. Till next week, big chat.
Right, let's go big.
We're gonna go very big.